I'm joined today by Mark Killebrew, Director of Sales Operations at Flock Safety. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Mike. Excited to be here.
So for those who might not know Flock, could you just give us a quick overview of the company and your products and your customers?
Yeah, so Flock Safety is a public safety technology company. We focused on helping communities ultimately eliminate crime. That's what our mission is. So we provide technology that captures objective evidence. One of our flagship products is a license plate recognition camera, but we also offer video, audio detection, and a bunch of different software suite packages that we deliver to law enforcement and public safety agencies in real time. So our mission, we're rooted in increasing the solvability of crime while protecting a lot of the privacy and civil liberties of those communities. And so today our solutions are used by thousands of local agencies across the country to reduce crime, improve response, and just build safer communities ultimately.
So cool. And for the everyday citizen who might not know it, it's nice to know that Flock is out there helping them every single day. So Mark, let's talk a little bit about sales ops or rev ops in a public safety company like yours. From your perspective, what are the metrics or outcomes that broadly the rev ops and sales op folks are focused on driving for Flock, and then also how does that aid in helping your agency partners?
Yeah, so sales operations, a lot of what our job is making our sales team more efficient and the company ultimately more efficient in engaging with our customers. So what we do at sales operations, especially here at Flock, is we bridge the front line and the back office systems to ensure all of our public safety engagement is aligned with our mission, again, of helping communities eliminate crime. So a lot of the metrics that we're working with for our agencies, or ultimately our customers, is we're helping them with their close rates. We're trying to get faster resolutions on their real-time crime statistics, and making sure all of our public safety teams are more effective at their job. What we as a sales ops track and are tracking consistently to make sure that our sales team is supporting that effort, though, our opportunity win rates, and across a bunch of different segmentations of when we're winning, when we're not, when are we in competitive deals, when are we not. We're also tracking sales cycle time. So, and our just average contract value, we're constantly striving to reduce friction in the public safety procurement piece for our sales reps. And so those three metrics are kind of the guiding forces of win rates, cycle time, and CV. But there's a lot that we're also doing to ensure that our team is operating at peak capacity. So making sure we've got the contact coverage, which, Pursuit's been great at kind of helping us with. Forecast accuracy, making sure that we have good planning and we don't have any gotchas when it comes to either deployment or procurement thresholds or how we're going to actually get these contracts executed. And then just all around data completeness and accuracy. We want to make sure that we have a full picture from a segmentation standpoint, decision maker mapping, all to make our sales reps and our customer success post-sales teams successful in delivering these outcomes for our customers.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you all take an engineering kind of mindset to the different variables in that revenue equation and just chip away at it every day to make the team more productive. I think that's awesome. And I think one of the things that's unique about selling into the public sector is all the data that you have at your disposal that maybe commercial sector folks don't have, which is, I think, it's a strength and a weakness, right? Because on the one hand, there's a lot there. But on the other, it would be super easy for a rep to get lost in it or to take time away from selling. So I'm just curious, could you speak a little bit to how Pursuit has helped across that revenue equation, dealing with stuff like contacts and purchasing processes and FOIA to be able to understand what's happening at the various agencies? How does that factor into that revenue equation for you all?
Yeah, I think that's the a little bit of the blessing of selling to the public sector is that it's all public information, right?
Yeah.
So it's all there. Now, what we have to do is give our teams the ability to sift through the just tranches of data that the public system creates. And it's a blessing and a curse in that manner. And so when we're working with, Pursuit and vendors like Pursuit, a lot of what we're trying to do is cut through that noise, get our sales team the actionable information that they can take, digest, and be able to either do outreach for, or try to identify problems that people are talking about in this data that we can ultimately solve for, right? So when it comes to like how Pursuit is helping us with a lot of that, we have a very volatile customer base as far as the positions. They're constantly changing, especially police chiefs, sheriffs, city managers. You've got regular elections, you've got special elections, you have people who retire and been lifelong, and keeping up with that is something that is a full-time job when it comes to maintaining that data. When you're reaching out to customers and you're getting an immediate email back saying, hey, this person no longer is with the agency, that just immediately slows that sales cycle down.
Or kills it entirely.
It kills it entirely, exactly. And so Pursuit has been great on helping us proactively identify that, because before Pursuit, it was we relied on rep feedback, we relied on manual LinkedIn updates, or even just like that cold inbound outreach, slow reactive. We were waiting for someone to tell us that they no longer were a contact that we can ultimately work with. And so we were pretty surprised by the overall turnover on some of that critical leadership changes. And Pursuit helped us identify a lot of that in our data proactively, which has been great.
And I mean, you were surprised, and I started a company to solve that problem, and even I was surprised. One of the things we've seen is if you did a sync on day one of Pursuit data and then you didn't update it, right? You just left it static in your CRM, you'd get to, after 6 months, like a 5 or 6% bounce rate. It's crazy. And so with Pursuit, one of the things we've been working on, I mean, we have sub 1% bounce rates now based on some of the stuff that we're doing to identify when folks leave. Because one of the challenges is like some of these departures are silent, right? There's no like news article that says so-and-so moved out. Sometimes if the chief retires, you see a news article on it, but down the command staff, you might not. But what you find is someone was on a website and they're no longer there, right? Or, they all of a sudden, they don't show up in documents where they used to before. So that was something that we've worked really hard on. And actually in the summer release, we've gotten much better at identifying is like those cases where someone used to be there. There's no explicit mention that they're gone, but you just don't hear about them anymore. So how do you identify those and then drive that into your CRM? I think that's really a huge part of what we're doing today.
And I have to admit, I think one of the moments of surprise and joy in working with Pursuit was a lot of the supporting documentation that you guys provided on why contacts were no longer with that active agency, because it just spoke to the level of granularity that you all were doing to help us identify those. And so there were things that you guys were able to uncover that we would not have been able to at scale do. So immediately solving problems like that.
Thank you. I love that. And then, taking that one step further to talk about pipeline and outreach, this is kind of relying on all the foundational stuff that we've built for contacts. Radar, there's a lot of new things in Radar this release with product-specific profiles that allow you to go deeper into individual products that you're selling. In your case, it could be drone as first responder or, LPR and the various other products that you offer. But that data, I'd love to hear, if you can share examples of how the signal data or the FOIA data where we're getting purchase order information, on how agencies are spending money and who they might be spending it with. I'd love to hear just like an anecdote or two if you're comfortable sharing. Don't share anything secret, but like any anecdotes that you think are useful that helped you guys move the needle on pipeline.
Listen, I think Radar is where things start clicking for the sales reps, right? And kudos to you all on the improvements that you have made with this product, and very appreciative of the opportunity to provide a lot of feedback to help shape things. And when I think one of the best releases is that multi-product aspect, because at Flock, one of the things that we've been doing as far as challenges that we're trying to overcome is we're releasing a ton of new products. It's a great problem to have. And so when we looked at our original kind of profiles with your original Radar release, it was uncovering a ton of information, but it was really geared towards our core product of that license plate reader. And we weren't able to really start introducing some of these other products. So we're really pumped about this ability for us to focus in on individual products in the Radar piece. And like I said, the sales reps, that's where it clicks for them, because they can all of a sudden get that list and immediately work through that to identify potential opportunities that they can then personalize that outreach. I mean, the difference of an outreach of just like, hey, have you heard of Flock Safety, versus, hey, I saw your council meeting notes where you guys were talking about vehicle theft increases and how you're going to tackle that. Guess what? We've got the number one solution to help your teams, your agencies solve those problems. And that becomes a totally different outreach. And we become trusted partners a lot quicker with our customer base because of the fact that we were prepared and we had that context that we otherwise most likely would not have been able to get. Or if we did get, our sales reps would have spent way too long doing it to where it wouldn't have been able to truly kind of scale out. So that I think is where Pursuit from a sales rep perspective, ultimately that's where they start seeing a lot of their value.
Well, I love that point, dude. Thank you for that. That is, like, for me, there's this kind of perception. I think for AI over the last couple of years, like AI initially was, with GPT-3 was like good at writing copy, and it could write a generic outbound email, right? And I think a lot of us in go-to-market have been trained that like AI slop gets generated and just like spams everyone. But I think this is a change when you're able to know all the different data points like you're describing on council meetings and strategic plans and looking at crime data or looking at FOIAs. All that stuff allows you to be so much better researched. And, actually, like to your point, you can actually have a much more prescriptive and precise email that goes to your target that is like actually empathetic to what they're doing. So if you have someone in the command staff who's in charge of drones, like you can talk to them specifically about their drone projects and all the things there. So I love that point. Thanks for sharing it. And I think you're right. Like the one thing that we're super excited about for the product profile part of Pursuit within Radar is like exactly what you said, to be able to target the new products that have like usually higher growth rates, right? And so if you're a company like Flock that has been growing really quickly, the next question is like, what are you going to do to be high growth in 12 or 24 months? And I think hopefully Radar can be a big part of that for you all. I wanted to move, I know we're making good progress, but I want to move over to Salesforce integration. Obviously having the data in Salesforce, having it be accurate without dupes and redundancies and all this stuff is really tricky. So I'm just curious, like talk us through that. What controls have you put in place to make sure that Pursuit's enrichment only improves your data quality in Salesforce and doesn't risk, issues and creating, kind of the opposite outcome that we wanted, which is like, saving your team time, right? It's got to be high quality data in order to save them time. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, listen, I'm very proud of the fact that we have been partners with Pursuit for a while and helped kind of build a lot of the infrastructure. And, my kudos to you and your team. We did not make it easy for you all to get us included into our Salesforce data because we have such strict security requirements. And so I was very, excited about a lot of the work that you guys did in order to clear that, security protocol and make sure that my security teams, my Salesforce devs, were all very comfortable with connecting your tool to our Salesforce instance. So just a quick thank you for the efforts that you all went through on making that happen. Now, when it comes to the data architecture and how we're ensuring that the data is reaching into Pursuit, we have a lot of our custom fields that Pursuit provides data for, and those are being written in. Now, we also have decisions that are made on whether or not we will allow a field to be written into Salesforce from Pursuit. And ultimately, there's no opportunity for Pursuit to override. So we are ensuring that any data that we have previously sourced, either manually or through additional data purchases, are maintained. But we have the ability to compare with Pursuit's data as well and make a decision on whether or not we want to move forward with which data source we ultimately have. We have tons of different data sources that we are ultimately leveraging, and the ability for Pursuit to clearly integrate with Salesforce just makes that so much easier for our sales reps to start actioning out.
Yeah.
Right. So we've done a great job of making sure that the data is available, and that anything that they find within Pursuit is able to ultimately be carried into our system so that they can action out on it as well. So field level mapping, we constantly want to make sure that anything new that either you guys provide or we provide, we're able to kind of map that, not just for bringing things into our Salesforce instance, but also to build and bring filters into Pursuit that we have already created at the Salesforce level to make our teams be able to, again, chop and get to the data that they need to get to at a faster speed, utilizing data that they might be most familiar with because it's internal to Flock.
100%. Yeah. So, I mean, specifically being able to cut what you see in Pursuit from like the entire United States to just my territory, just prospect accounts who have signal, like that it's 3 clicks, but like that's a lot of work if you didn't have that infrastructure set up like you're describing.
And now it's not as many clicks because we're able to save some different views.
1 click now, right? Yeah, thank you. I shouldn't have even said 3, but thank you for pointing that out. You're doing a better job than I am. So now, next, I want to kind of wrap up with kind of your thoughts on RevOps and PubSec in general, and to the extent you want to talk about public safety, that's cool too. But as you're building out your sales ops team and all the infrastructure there, talk to us a little bit about some of the things you've learned over the years that maybe Mark from pre-Flock didn't appreciate. Like, what do you think that if you're building I think you guys are one of the best in the entire industry that we've ever seen. Like, what do you think makes you unique, and what advice would you give to, Mark from a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think like go find peers and work with those peers on best practices, because they're ultimately solving for a lot of the same problems. So that's something I've been very intentional about, is connecting with sales operations in the public safety space, such that we can share best practices, share vendors, talk about what are the problems and data that we're trying to find and work for. So, don't be afraid to reach out. I found the sales ops community has been extremely willing to help each other. And because I think ultimately the sales ops and RevOps community are not necessarily going head to head on a lot of deals. And so that community is often very helpful. So I often recommend people to try and build that network, connect with people on LinkedIn, engage with a lot of what it is that they're putting out, and build up that community. So, I think with regards to public safety specifically, public safety sales is so hard. It's crazy hard, and it's made difficult almost intentionally, it feels like at sometimes. But if you can crack it and you can get in, the public safety customers are some of the best customers to have. And so it's an extremely difficult thing to do. And over time, especially if you have great partners that can help you sift through a lot of that noise. You are going to make an impact within both those communities and within the people who are ultimately serving the public. So when I look at our products and what it is that we're doing, we're not necessarily helping an accountant close the books a day earlier. We're not necessarily helping a sales manager be able to get some visibility into their pipeline. Like, we're not a typical SaaS company in the impact that we're making, because we're truly helping law enforcement agencies solve crime.
Yeah.
And that mission and that impact, there's not many positions in the sales operations world where you can tie your impact to something of that nature.
Totally.
And it's really special. So I think when I look at myself 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, with Flock now, I think staying grounded in the fact that, like, that matters, and hard is hard, but the impact that you can choose to make with that difficulty is something that you have to stay grounded in. So I think that's a lot of what I think about looking back at as in the naivety of the last 4 years, Mark, is just staying grounded in that impact and making sure that we're continuing to provide for our customer base.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that ties really nicely with the idea that you're building connections with other peers in the industry, because they're all trying to do the same thing. And it's something that, I know we've talked about this, but I feel really fortunate to be able to wake up every day feeling like I'm going to work for my kids, because, like, you can read the stories on Flock's website about how you guys have solved issues with abducted kids or Amber Alerts and things like this. And it really does make a difference. So we feel super fortunate to be your partners. And thank you for all the feedback that you've given us over the years, and certainly a lot more to come. But thanks for joining us today, Mark. I appreciate you.